think
Sorry.
it's because of the crash.
Is it?
Yeah, might have
Oh,
been. Hello,
but
Celeste.
hi.
since you're not on camera.
I'm not.
It
Okay,
shows
let me.
black screen, so you might have a slider or something like that that you have not opened.
No, I don't have a slider. Just let me
Okay.
see. Well, let me call IT. Just hang on.
Your IT.
Yeah, because usually if you don't turn on your camera, we get this little icon that
Yeah. So this
has your
actually
name.
means,
Today is completely black, right? Huh?
so it probably means your cam is on, but not showing.
Okay, let me. I've asked IT to join me.
Okay, sure.
Let me see. You still can't see me?
Can
Oh dear.
yeah, now you're up.
All right. Okay.
There you are. Yes. Sorry, Alan is asking me. Yeah. Yay. Okay. Okay. What do you do, Celeste?
I don't know. I just toggled the integrated webcam
And then can liao.
button, and then it got switched on.
Okay, I'm going to try and call in Alan. Yeah, see if it works. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
If
Thanks,
anyone wants
Celeste.
to test sharing of screen and all that, you should do so now. I will unshare. Okay.
I don't think any of them are sharing screens. Any of you sharing screens or videos?
No. One thing,
Oh yeah, me lah. I'm sharing
Yeah lah,
screen.
you
I have
test
a
whether you
Google
can.
Map. Okay.
It's like
Can right?
yep, can see.
Ayo, Alan is like, can right? Okay, I can stop sharing now.
Okay, you can stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Benny is in, and Alan is not in
Benny
yet.
Benny is in already, yeah.
Yeah, hi, morning. I managed to dial back in.
Oh, good. How are you, Benny?
I'm good. Yeah. You have to turn on the video now. Or...
Maybe just test that is working. Like just now, Celeste had some issues with it. Sorry, I'm still trying to find Alan. I calling here, calling there. Oh, you're in your office, is it, Celeste? Oh no, Celeste, how come you have to use mask? Oh, she's explaining something. Yeah. Oh wow, you have our background. Thank you so much.
I can change to something else also. Yeah.
Benny, you're seated too low, you know.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm still,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay,
making
can.
some yeah.
Otherwise, we just see your eyes.
Yes, very mysterious. Yep. So to our other guests, good morning. We're starting at 9 o'clock, so just welcoming our different presenters in. Okay, Alan's here. Hello. Bye liao.
How about Terence? You have Terence as well, right?
Yes, yes. He said he was going to set his hair. No, okay. Uh,
Hi, morning.
Morning, Alan.
Good morning.
So
Okay,
Alan
let
has
me
this
figure out this.
amazing high definition. He's not used to. Apparently, nobody is used to Teams. Everybody knows Zoom. So I think they're experimenting as well. Yeah.
How do I do that virtual background thing? You guys look so cool now.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I can. Is it
You-
okay if I have my office background?
Sure, sure. Alan, you
I don't want
spoke-
to
The settings,
disappear.
yeah. The top right, you can see the
Setting,
three more actions are the three dots, right? You click on it, and then you can see a link called background effects.
I'm using a Mac.
Oh, Mac.
Yeah, I
Should
know.
be the
Probably
That's
same.
all right.
Saver. Yeah.
Services preference. Is Terence Darlin ready?
No, I just texted him, so I'll give him a few more minutes, then I will call him in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Ellen. I'm Shirley. And
Oh,
hi,
sorry,
Suzette.
sorry, Shirley.
Didn't
Yes.
introduce myself earlier.
Yes.
Ellen, I was supposed to get in touch with you because of some. I think one link you gave me his contact a while back, right? On
Yes.
some community project thing. We will
Yeah,
touch base.
because I said that you're quite involved in community projects. Like I think Julia
Mm.
Street is your project. Julia is yours, right? So
Mm.
Shirley was exploring doing something.
Yeah, with my RC area and things like that.
Okay. Tulip Street is one of those few things I've been supporting on migrant workers. And I think more and more there will be
Mm.
for activities that integrate migrant workers into community. Neighborhoods, HDB neighborhoods. So I thought that could be something useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Would love to hear more
Mm.
about it, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. So to my
Happy to
guest,
share more. Yeah.
Shirley is my colleague. So she and I are both in the staff training department. We do the internal staff training for our colleagues lah. I don't know if you all remember my job lah, but okay, what we do is we do teacher training. And all my friends are like, "What do you do again?"
I know,
Yeah.
right?
I know, right?
always
After
have
I've only been here 15 years, but okay, it's all right.
yeah. It's like my
So,
even
yes.
my own CG people. It's like, oh, hang on, can you describe your role again?
Your lecturer, right? Kind
Yeah,
of, but then it's holiday now. I'm like, it's not holiday for me because I still, but anyway, yeah. So Shirley and I are colleagues. Actually, we sit in the cubicle next to each other in non-COVID times. So today, she is helping as the host, which means that she will take care of things like back-end
Letting
things.
people in and all that.
Yeah, that's right. Letting people in and then helping me to funnel some of the questions if they come fast and furious, for example. Yeah.
If they don't come in fast and furious, then we whack them.
Oh, then we must be provocative, you see. So I figured, right, that it should be a very casual. You've noticed I have not asked you for slides and there are no real like formal presentation things because I thought that I'm sure that I have every confidence that all of us are interesting enough to have a conversation and that it would be fascinating because the topic I believe is of interest to all of us and also to our audience. Yeah. So do feel free also to, when you're sharing, talk about your other lives and any of your own experiences lah. Because everybody is kaypoh one, right? So yeah. So although we have 250 people signed up, not everybody may turn up, but let's see how lah. Yeah.
And they may also kind of trigger in, slightly later as well. That's what we have experienced yesterday.
Okay. Good morning. I'm here.
Yay, you finished your hair and
I
makeup.
did it.
There you see your hair perfectly coiffed.
Hello, Terence.
Yes. Hi. Hi, everyone.
Sorry, hope I didn't get you up too early for this. I was just introducing Shirley Wave, who is my colleague and will helping to host this webinar.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're also saying that questions may come fast and furious, but if not, it's okay lah. We can have a chat among ourselves lah. Yeah.
The 250 people are lecturers or students?
So okay, Terence, do you know my day job? Maybe not, right? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I don't.
So you may know that I work
We
in
were just talking about that.
we do, but to be honest, I've not seen Terence for a long time, although I'm on his Facebook. So
Yeah.
what we do is staff training. So this webinar is part of 10 webinars offered as part of our annual staff learning and teaching event that focuses on learning, teaching and learning. So all the audience participants will be TP lecturers, but we have also extended this year because it's online. We have extended the invitation to our other poly counterparts, and we've had a pretty good sign-up rate for it. Shirley, am I right?
Yeah, that's right. I think the last I looked was like 2-4 something, and then they had to close it.
Yeah,
Wow.
because MS Teams apparently the max capacity is 250. So some of my colleagues are all lurking around. We have contingencies, as you will see later, about what happens if if people cannot get it. So there are parallel schemes.
Okay. Cool. Good. I'm glad I got into Teams. It is not the easiest software to use.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
right. Horrible. I cannot.
It's absolutely horrible. I mean, given I run a software company and I can just barely figure it out.
Celeste was saying that it made her like re-download, is it, this morning?
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So Teams is a very it's a very fluid platform.
It's funny, like
Yeah.
We couldn't see.
You know, one thing. Last week I did a dry run with you and I logged in and everything, right?
Yep.
You know, I literally didn't touch that laptop the whole week. So everything was set up and I just turned it on and touched the same button and
I'm
ding,
so touched,
I got in.
Terence.
I'm like,
Thank you.
because I know how bad it is. I have customers who use Teams, and every time we get on a call with people who use Teams, oh my God, I curse and swear.
Very touched.
That's very
Laptops
interesting.
you have.
Our experience hasn't been all that bad, really.
Yeah.
Well, that's because if your organization, well, you only talk to people who use Teams, right? Then it's okay because you only talk to the people in your organization, and your poly probably bought an entire enterprise license from Microsoft. It's all set up. You have a whole army of IT people to set it up for everyone and maintain it, which you are paying Microsoft a lot of money every year for. For the rest of us, we don't enjoy paying Microsoft any money for things that really should have been free and are actually better to use, like Zoom and Google Meets. Yeah, I mean,
This is the best I can
actually
do now.
outside of our office, we do use the rest. So
Ellen is
Yeah.
okay. It's fine. It's fine. Ellen has discovered the backgrounds and is playing around with it.
It
and
doesn't
then we
have,
got
uh,
a nice cool background we can see.
and you
Were you
know,
looking for a farm?
I cannot actually figure out how to change the background to the LFS thing.
Yeah, I cannot also.
You have
You
to
cannot,
actually
right?
add it in. You have to.
No, I think it's
mean,
okay because you have to save it first before you presumably that you've saved it.
Okay,
Okay.
never mind lah. Be unique. You
Yeah
can
lah,
have your own company background or something.
No, I want to put my company background, so I don't know how.
Oh.
It's so complicated.
Sorry to force you on. Teams
I
first.
Alim Kopi.
Hey, they've actually
yeah,
made it
please
a
do.
lot easier now. It used to be even more difficult.
Oh no.
Is that even
Yeah.
possible?
You go to that three dot thing, and then there is something called apply background effects. That's where you can edit on. Prior to this,
Yeah,
it was even
But you
tougher.
cannot select a file.
I thought you can select a
Yeah,
picture.
you can add new. There's a
Oh, I don't. We don't have. I think for guests, we are not given that option.
really?
We can only use the standard
But we
boring
had
ones.
guests yesterday.
They
we
are
had
special
joiners
guests.
Strange.
Strange.
Okay, everybody drink your coffee so that
I will endeavor, but I'm just worried I might disappear. So.
no. So let's don't endeavor if you will disappear.
Join options. Add a room to your meeting to use its sound and video system. Wow. Audio.
How come we don't have that feature?
Add a room.
Oh,
Huh?
Isn't that Facebook? Add a room. Okay.
Hang on.
I think that's-
Terrence, are you in the right place?
No, can you all see me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. Strange.
Just
It's
touch
still
it.
asking me for a join now. Choose your audio and settings for meeting now. Okay, I better not touch anything.
No, don't touch. If
No,
you drop
no.
out, I'll be.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Great. Now I cannot see the rest of
We'll have
you.
to go and find another Terrence, right?
You can't see the rest of us. Why?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh
Yeah,
dear.
I know. Oh no. I'm alone in
No, we
this
are seeing
room.
the.
But
No, are we
we can still
seeing?
hear
Are
you.
you seeing the PowerPoint thing now?
Okay, I'm back. I see the PowerPoint thing. Whew. Okay, I'm not gonna touch anything. I'm gonna go and eat my eggs.
Okay, go and get your
Oh,
coffee.
wow.
Come back a few minutes before 9 and all's good. So we have about 27 people in the room now. So good morning to everyone. We're just chit-chatting before we start. Yeah.
哇，好多人呢。
256个人。
No lah, only
我们讲华语吧，我们
可以
接下来
you
的
must be
10分钟
culturally sensitive.
校
Yeah.
长、老师、各位观众，大家
Wait, you got to translate it to three other different
Malay and-
languages.
Yeah.
tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, selamat datang hari ini meeting.
Oh yeah, actually,
Mak.
Alan, you know Malay, right?
Indian.
Sedikit lah.
What? Do you know
Sedikit,
Hindi
sedikit.
or at least Tamil?
No. Tamil cannot sing. Tamil will come out sounding like some
Alan, you know Malay,
gibberish.
right?
Yeah.
Indian.
Sedikit lah. But knowing Malay is so good
Hindi or at least
in
Tamil.
this part of the world.
No.
Yeah.
Only
Tamil
regionally
cannot.
lah.
Yeah. You get used to
Yeah.
where the good nasi campur is in Bali, you know. Yeah, Malay. You can bargain with the Orang Laut on the Mao Shan Wang that they have.
Hey, it's durian season.
Oh yeah. Not yet. It's coming soon.
Not yet. How's life, Alan and Celeste? How's work? I don't know if Benny is here, but yeah. So is work like more busy or?
No, so this is this is our first week back in the office
Oh.
after they
Oh.
permitted the team A, team B, right? So which is why I'm back in the office.
Yeah. I said that doesn't look like your house, Lay. Yeah. Yeah. Are you glad to be back in the office?
Yes. I think I'm probably in the minority, but I'm very happy to be back.
It's
in
the
the office.
aircon, right? It's the aircon.
And it's also quieter, in the office. You've got IT.
Is your secretary
Probably
back with
less
you?
distraction.
No, so depending on how you want to work this, for me, I've decided that my secretary will do the alternate week in the office.
Oh, so
So
that
when I'm
you're
not in the
around,
office,
you can
she's
like
a- yeah.
remotely instruct her lah.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I forgot you had a secretary because it's been so long. I was like, yes, legal secretary. Yes. In my former years. Alan, you got secretary or not?
I have
Nowadays, very few people have secretary.
interns.
You
smarter
got
than-
interns. Minions. Sorry, interns. Yes.
Yeah, I have interns that are a lot smarter than me. So, very intense working at home, but very productive. Because I don't have to travel for meetings. And,
Celeste used to travel a lot also for her things, but now
yeah,
I'm back.
but I
oh,
I
wait,
ever do like
Welcome back.
Zoom calls in 7 hours or something like that. Yeah. Then after that, total flat out, you know. But yeah, those are interesting times.
Mm.
I was just asking how is business, and Celeste said this is her first week back in the office, probably after the press conference that said, relaxed rules.
We've had our plan in place. We were just waiting for the announcement. So it was very quick to roll out.
Then
Baker
Terence, were you
McKenzie. Sorry, go ahead.
you used to travel a lot also for work, right? So now
Oh yeah.
like
A
you're
lot.
grounded.
Yeah, I am so happy
Oh
to be
really?
grounded. I am so happy to be grounded. In the first 3 months of this year alone, I went to Israel, Newcastle, Las Vegas, Florida, Toronto, Montreal, like in 3 months. So, and Tokyo. I think my last trip was Tokyo when the virus just broke. I was supposed to be there for Tokyo Marathon, and then I got a slot. I went anyway, but it was postponed or cancelled. But I went Tokyo anyway. Then I came back, and after that, it was locked down. So I got enough travel in 3 months to last the year. Thank you.
Hey Terence, can you adjust your camera a little bit? You're just on. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Because once you look
No,
down,
I'm-
then actually it's not.
I'm not
He
wearing
adjusted his
pants now.
chair.
Shh, you don't have to tell people that.
Okay, what's
None
guys,
of us
what's
are
under
supposed
your
to suddenly
laptop?
stand up.
Huh?
What's under your laptops to pop it up so that you look normal?
What's under my laptop?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, I think he just
Ah,
adjusted his chair. Oh,
No. I just
Tilted
adjust
the-
the
Oh,
hinge
tilt.
of my.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here. Yeah.
let me introduce you later to a certain brand of Koropo, whereby the bucket that came with it is just the right height. But it also
Oh,
sets
okay.
off a
It
dilemma.
depends on the height of your
Put it
table,
on.
right?
When you put it on, you cannot open the Koropo, and it's very painful.
And we are talking about skills in the real world today.
Yes. You
Such-
must know how to choose the right Koropo box.
Yeah. Because you need to design the Koropo to open laterally instead of on the top.
Yeah, so
Alan
it
and
teaches-
Terence are engineers.
It
Like-
teaches design thinking. By choosing the right Koropo box, it instills design thinking in your everyday life. Right? Which is a buzzword nowadays, right? Design thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. We only start officially in 5 minutes, so we don't have to do the real world thing yet.
Koropo have a lot.
yeah, we're giving
scare
a
people, really.
preamble to the.
They'll come in, they're like, hey, am I in the right place? How come all these people like, yeah.
Talking about Koropo.
No, you are not in the right place. You're in Tenet. Tenet.
Oh, I haven't watched Tenet yet.
Terence, you
Wow.
have to revise your 3 laws of thermodynamics before you go and watch, man. Energy atrophy, like, in the middle of it, they say energy atrophy. Walao eh.
The 3 laws of thermodynamics are like in the head one, right? First law, all energy come in, all energy go out. Energy is always constant.
Yeah.
Second law,
Yeah.
energy will always flow from higher energy to lower energy. Third
Yeah.
law,
So,
third law is whatever I say is law lah.
so the problem is you try to remember the thing, right? As you try to remember the thing, this Christopher Nolan now whack you left, right, center with time inversion. Because he's talking about something called reverse energy atrophy. That means energy flow the other way around.
Oh,
then
so you get energized, law?
And then spoiler.
Yeah, lah.
So it's similar to nuclear fusion,
So it's
where
better
energy
to have all
increases.
the background. Yeah, correct. So this is the time inversion part,
See
right?
which
All of
side
us must go and read.
Writer.
Yeah,
If not,
because
you
your face
halfway
is a bit
through,
dark, you have to figure out. Yeah, I think this is
so what's
slightly better.
happening?
Okay. The rest of you should be warned that Alan and I were in the same JC together. We were classmates in JC.
Yeah, like,
I was
And
just
during
going to say
TP
that.
class,
Oh
only
my
the
God.
two of us. It's either the two of us speaking or we boycott the whole class and we just refuse to talk. But if the two of us starts talking, the rest of the class can go home. They don't get to talk.
Right. So I
No
was
wonder
just
you all
going
have
to
such chemistry between
Good
you.
morning, everybody.
I've known this guy for more than half my life.
That doesn't mean that you want to talk to him, but yes. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We're just going to start in a couple of more minutes. So we're just chatting among the different presenters. Yeah. And then feel free to say hello in the comments box or to, yeah.
Huh?
grab
Comment
your-
box ah.
Where's the comments box?
Where's the comment box?
Wow.
No, I should say that
Yeah.
my guests
Yeah.
are lovely. They,
Yeah.
they don't normally use Microsoft Teams, but they really tried to get online for this. Yeah. So they're like, how to put the background? Where is the comments box? There's a chat box. So on the top right of your
I
screen.
found it. I found a chat box.
Okay, so our very highly accomplished
Amazing.
guests are familiarizing themselves. A warm welcome
Wow.
to our non-TP guests.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
just
yo,
about
yo,
to
yo.
start in 2 minutes time, waiting for some other people to come in. In fact, some of our
Oh.
external guests, we have to let them in manually. So between myself and I think 2 other people, we'll try to admit them.
If I see anyone, I just let in. I just assume you have been authorized. Yeah. So some of you may or may not know that this seminar is full. So it's great to have you with us. So yeah. So looking forward to interesting morning breakfast chat with guest presenters. Does that sound good? Sorry, I cannot offer you champagne, but yeah.
No champagne.
Sorry, no champagne. Next
That's
time
what I
when
came here for.
So you
Homemade
BYO
mooncake.
your coffee. Then next time I meet you guys, I buy you champagne, Ken.
You say one, ah?
Hey, but I
Mm.
choose the champagne. I'm not so atas like you, Terrace. I get scared. Yeah, I'm just a civil servant. Right, Shirley, we're just civil servants. We don't travel to
Yeah.
like 20 places in 3 months.
Yeah.
I
And lower tier.
literally go there for 24 hours in one city. That's all.
That's
It's
true.
not. It's not a vacation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're about to start very soon. But I think before we start, perhaps just say hi to everyone because not everyone is from TP here. So a very warm welcome to all my colleagues from TP as well as those who hail from ITE, Nanyang Poly, Ngee Ann Poly, Republic Poly, and
NUS.
Singapore Poly. Hello, hello. I'm Shirley, your host for today. I'm from the Learning Academy. There are a couple of reminders before we start. So if you have your VPN turned on, perhaps you would like to turn it off now because this is to ensure that you have a better experience. Do remember to mute your mic and also turn off your video, which I see no one else except the presenters and the discussant. And during the course of their conversation, if you have any comments or questions to ask, you may just put it into the chat box as just now both Ellen and Terence just discovered that we have this chat box.
And Celeste also.
Yeah, yes. And they are very new to Microsoft
Teams.
Teams. Most of them, I think they use Zoom. Okay, and there is also a Q&A segment. Do raise your hand and it'll be even better if you kind of unmute your mic, show yourself and ask the question, right? Because I think as you have seen, you're amongst people who are really very casual. You know, the format of this webinar is quite casual. So do show yourself and ask the question with your mic turned on, of course. For your information, this session will be recorded. And at the end of the whole session, there will be a feedback QR code, which I'll flash. And please give us your feedback so that we can do better. And this morning, the title of the webinar, as you have seen earlier, is Skills in the Real World, Sharing by Industry Partners. So we have here our discussant, Wan Ling, who is also from the Learning Academy of Temasek Poly. And we have Ellen Lim from ComCorp, Benny Lee from Accenture, Celeste Ang from Baker McKenzie Wong and Liao, quite a mouthful there, and Terence Sui from Movie. I'll leave Wan Ling to tell you more about them. So over to you, Wan Ling. You can share your screen.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Let me share my screen. So a little bit of context. I know that our TP colleagues will know Shirley and me quite well, but for our outside guests, just to let you know that we're both from the Learning Academy and we're the department that conducts internal staff training for our TP colleagues in learning and teaching staff. So the webinar that you're attending now, if you didn't really know by now, is part of LA Fest, which is TP's annual learning and teaching festival. Yesterday we had a keynote address, and then the rest of today there are various webinars. And if you notice the logo on the top right, it says Temasek Poly, too early, sorry. And then there's a 30 there. So this year is also our 30th anniversary. Yeah. So I think this Shirley has already given you the ground rules. So this is the very loose webinar format, very, very loose. It's scheduled for 90 minutes, but we're hoping that the second half of it, we can mostly interact with you guys and take comments or questions. So we're going to do a bit of introductions, and then there'll be a few talking points, which we will suggest to the presenters for their inputs, dialogues with each other, with us, and then a more formal time of Q&A. Is that okay?
One thing, I'm going to interject you as well. This is
yes,
the
that's
latest
right.
piece of news about the contingency plan. If you can see on my screen that's being shared, can you please kind of take note of that link? It's quite easy to remember. If MS Teams, Microsoft Teams suddenly crashed, that might happen because I think on Monday it actually happened.
Monday, Tuesday,
it happened in Australia. So Microsoft Teams server was down. Everything 365, everything crashed. So remember the first link. If the whole thing crashed, we go over to tinyurl the W3 emergency. So very easy to remember. W3 emergency. If this thing suddenly crashed, and you say I'm the only one here or something like that. Okay, so we move over. And if you know of any colleagues who's trying to get in here, because there's a limitation on this particular webinar or this Microsoft Teams site as well. So a max of 250 people. If you know of your colleagues or friends trying to get in, the second link would be helpful. That's the YouTube W3 with the tiny URL in front. So again, very easy to remember. I will also post them within our chat box later. So back to Wan Ling again.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just give me a minute to take the screen back. Yeah. Yes. So sorry, just trying to. Oh wait, I don't want to leave. Wait, sorry. Okay.
No, you don't want to leave.
No, I don't want to leave. I don't want
all
to
these
leave.
people stranded.
No. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, you would think that after one semester of teaching with it will be better, but yeah. Where was I? Yeah, so we'll have some talking points by our presenters, and then we welcome your questions and answers. Yeah. So and now my screen has hung. Okay, excuse me a while I unshare. So actually for the introductions, what I thought we could do was to have our guests introduce themselves. So instead of me telling you about them, I think I actually am very excited about this morning. I think that we have very interesting guests, and I'm sure that's why all of you signed up as well. So I'm going to invite each of my guests to do a short self-introduction, and maybe you can tell us a bit, of course, about yourself, your workplace, and the kind of stuff that you do, so we know what context you come from. When we go on to sharing later about skills in the real world, what is your real world? What is your context? And also a bit about, like, do you interact with, do you lead a team, manage interns, etc., etc., because that's what you'll be drawing your experiences from when you share. Okay. So Celeste, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Celeste. Good morning, everyone. I'm a partner in Baker McKenzie. For those who do not know Baker McKenzie, it is a law firm. So we are a global firm. So myself, I focus on dispute resolution, compliance investigations, and employment. And I think for me, dealing not only with local laws but regional and global law is quite a mainstay, especially now in the legal industry. So I do lead a team in Singapore, obviously with the rest of my partners, and we, because now because of globalization, right? So in our sphere, we also do lead like different practice groups and industry groups, which as I said, will span not only the local teams but also the regional and global teams. So I do sit on some of these committees, and I do lead these regional and global teams. So yeah, just a quick introduction of myself.
Okay, thank you very much, Celeste. So actually, when you talk to her, you cannot tell, but actually Celeste does stuff like corporate litigation, and she has to deal with very unhappy people. Am I right in saying that?
Yes.
Contentious or potentially termination of employment, dismissal, retrenchment, breach of fiduciary duty. Wow, well, yeah, all very, very fierce sounding stuff. But when you speak to her, she's very lovely and she's very nice.
So no clients like to see me because either a dispute or an investigation, both of them are not very positive.
She's also ranked as one of the top 50 lawyers in something. Don't be paiseh, Celeste. What is it that you're ranked as again?
No. I'm ranked in these legal publications and chamber as well as legal 500 rankings. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Celeste. Maybe next we could hear from Benny, because so far we've not. You're the one I at least know. So would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hi. Morning, everyone. I'm Benny. I'm one of the managing director in Accenture. And I think, for those who do not know what Accenture is, we are literally a consulting company, and we sort of do end-to-end project and transformation, starting from, strategic type consulting work leading to large-scale SI implementation, and, before going to maintenance and as well as business outsourcing and the likes of it. Primarily for me, I spent almost the entire of my career since joining Accenture in the public sector. I spent the first few years of my career looking and working on the Ministry of Defense type projects, and that's essentially more ERP, SAP type systems. I then sort of moved out to the citizen services sector, and a few years ago I was on the SingPass project, and then that's really the journey where we started to modernize and where you do your safe entry, those SingPass app. I think that's also one of the projects that I used to be on. I think more recently I moved into the public safety space, so I actually do a lot of project in anything related to security and enforcement, right? And try to keep Singapore safe. Well, I guess from a day-to-day perspective, I run projects, so I do have team members with me, and the nature of the business or nature of my work it really depends on the project, right? Sometimes the project can be a smaller type of work. It can be a small team of 6 to 10 doing consulting type work. Sometimes it can scale up to 100 or 200, literally doing a project implementation. And of course, I also do hiring, right? Because I think in Accenture, we almost do everything. So I also sort of work with industry partners, tertiary institutions to try to understand how best to maybe, support their curriculum, right, in terms of designing that for the industry. And of course, also, other parts of collaboration work with IMDA. Now in the COVID context, I've also been working with IMDA to sort of support the mature workers as to transition, maybe to the ICT industry, and how to, really help them progress and grow from there. Yeah. So that's
Benny, so you're pretty busy in these COVID times then, or
it's to be busy now, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the other thing that Benny has not shared about is that you are a TP alumni. Am I right?
Yeah. So maybe 20 years ago, right? I think I left TP about 2001. Yeah.
2001. Okay,
It's
so
quite nice to be back again, to be invited back to do some sharing.
yeah, we're very happy to have you back. And I,
Sadly, we couldn't have you in person, right?
yeah, who knows? Maybe some of your former lecturers are in our audience now. Thank you, Benny. Thank you. So, Ellen and Terence, who would like to go next? What jobs do you do, and how did you end up in these jobs? Ellen and Terence are both
Ellen
engineers
first.
by training. Yeah. Okay, Ellen first. He says, yeah. You're
You're
muted.
mute. Ellen, you're mute.
He's now looking for the mute. Top right. Aha, got it.
Yeah, found it,
Go on.
found it.
Yeah,
Yeah, got
Come
it, got
on.
it.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can
go,
hear you.
go. Yes.
Okay, so I was before the mute incident. I'm a farmer. I own two companies in Singapore. One that deals with conversion of waste into biodiesel. It's the only biodiesel company in Singapore. It's been around for about 12 years. We run one of the fastest bioprocess plant for biodiesel in the world. And that biodiesel was ranked one of the 3 most sustainable biodiesel back in 2016. And then on the other hand, I also is a founder and of a high-tech farm, or whatever you call it, right? I grow vegetables. And I grow vegetable on the rooftop using tech and skills, which is a bit of a contrast to what is currently being thought of as farming, which is I would say the more romanticized version of farming, which is large plains of greens, and then people walking through, plucking things, and then going to the kitchen and cooking. My farm looks a lot like a production house, looks like and manufacturing, where everything is run in process. We actually restrict people from going in, so there's no romance in there. Don't think of coming to my rooftop farm and propose to your girlfriend. Cannot work. It's biosecure, but we are really focusing on taking a step at Singapore's food security. And I think we are making progress in the concept of how a city could sustain itself. We have to shift from a model of other cities sustaining our city, right, in a much more globalized world, to today, because of climate constraint and a much more deglobalized geopolitics, that we may have to be in a situation where we look at how we make use of tech to at least provide some sustenance, right?
So, Ellen, is your company a medium-sized one, or so that they have some context?
Both
Do you have
companies are medium-sized.
interns? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have interns. I hire both local and foreign employees. Yeah, but I'll go on and on and on, like what Terence said before.
So
right? If you like to throw us out, we'll never end. So
that's why I would gracefully insert myself. So Ellen is also, is that graceful?
You just say this.
So Ellen is actually an excellent cook as well, by the way. Really excellent. It is when he cooks, it's always like an event, and it's really an honor. So it may be obvious by now that I know some of the guests personally. Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, Terence, would you like to introduce yourself? How did you end up in this job? And what do you do? Movie. You're muted. Are you muted? Yes.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming up so early. This is way too early for me. I'm not a morning person, but I'll try. So I'm still in my first job since graduation, technically. So I only started work pretty late in life because I'm a lazy bugger. I just try to avoid having to work. But when I did, I joined Cradle, Cambridge Digital Labs, which is part of A-Star back in the day. It's changed names a few times. And I was hired to work on doing some research in music analysis. So my work was, I was trying to detect the beats of music and analyze the emotional index of music. So I'm an engineer by training. studied signal processing and computer engineering, but I'm also a musician wannabe, right? So I did that, and my boss had another team that did research in video analysis. They were looking for faces and short segments in videos. This is back in 1999, 2000. So we got together and we said, okay, we are able to detect faces in music. We are able to detect beats of the music. What good is this knowledge, right? And some guy came up with the idea, okay, let's automatically cut videos to the beat of the music and make an MTV automatically out of home videos. And if you remember back in the early 2000s, Sony camcorders were $2,000, and typically people would buy one when they have their first child. Okay, so they will be in their early 30s. So we accidentally invented automatic video editing and founded Movie. And so this was in about 2001, right after the dot-com crash. So we spun off the company, raised investment from Temasek Capital, which is no longer around. It's part of Temasek Holdings now. And we ended up with over 26 patents to our name. We invented a lot of stuff related around automatic video editing. And I'm proud to say that today in almost all consumer video editing apps, automatic video editing or template-based video editing is a standard feature. And that was invented by us right here in Singapore. And then in 2004, Nokia came along and said, we are going to introduce a phone that will record videos next year. This is 2004, okay? The first phone that recorded videos by Nokia. And they said, you are the only company in the world that claims to do video editing automatically, and we need a video editor for our phone, because once we allow people to capture video, they're going to capture a lot of shit. You need to give them a way to cut it down. And of course, you don't have a mouse and keyboard user interface. You have 6 buttons, up, down, left, right, okay, cancel. So they say, you have to build a video editor for us with 6 buttons under 1 megabyte memory space. And back then we had a PC, Windows 95 software with 120 megabyte download. So we accidentally became the world's first app company before the word app was even invented. So we were the world's first mobile app company, our first mobile video app company. Fast forward to today, we supply video software, video-related multimedia software to the likes of Samsung, LG, Motorola, Oppo, the usual suspects. And we have 0 customers in Singapore. We have about 30 plus people, most of them in Singapore, but we have people in all over the world, in Seoul, in Tokyo, in India, in Bandung, in Jakarta, in Vietnam, in China, in the US. So that explains why I travel a lot, because we have absolutely no customers in Singapore.
Thank you, Terence. Thank you. So Terence is also very into, are you still into triathlons, Terence, or you just do running? Yeah. So he's a triathlete and he's been doing it for years and he's still doing it, which is pretty awesome. Yeah. So thank you everybody for your introduction. So I hope for the audience that allows you to get an idea of, they're all doing really exciting work and really in very interesting areas. So now we can maybe get some inputs from them. Okay, so those are our 4 participants. Yeah, so there's Celeste and Terence and Alan and Benny. Let me just put you down. Okay, so the title of today's webinar is Skills in the Real World. And the reason why we are interested in this is that as polytechnics, we're always looking at the mandate of we want to equip our students so that they are able to find jobs. So where all the time our lecturers are interfacing with their counterparts in industry. Because the thing about us as lecturers is that once we come into poly, all our lecturers have industry experience. They used to work out there, inverted comma. But once we come in, then we start to lose touch with our industry. And they're always talking to their counterparts, either for internship, for major projects, and just making sure that our curriculum is still relevant. So I guess the first thing that I would like our guests to weigh in on and to share based on your experiences is what kind of skills do you think are needed for students to thrive in your industry? Why would you hire somebody? What kinds of people have you mentored, or have you seen them grow, and what works and what doesn't? Okay, so I apologize because when I'm sharing screen, I can't see you guys, but if I could just maybe again, ladies first, because before the boys take over, and yeah, so because you'll be quietly, politely sitting there, but yeah. So Celeste, what does it take for someone to thrive in the legal industry? All my legally trained friends, myself included, we have since long way dropped out. 99.5% of us.
Yeah. So I think in the legal industry, we've got obviously a lot of functions, right? I mean, we've got the timekeepers who are the lawyers. We have professional support lawyers. We've got obviously our highly talented support teams as well. So our business development, and so across a whole skill set. But maybe I would just focus maybe on the timekeepers and the lawyers first. I think for them, we at least looking at the students of coming through our doors, looking at the CVs, I would say in a vast majority of cases, they are in terms of academics, right? They're all brilliant. So I mean, we hardly see CVs across our table where they are not all doing really well academically. So we sort of take that as a granted. And then the question is, what else do we look for? And in the legal industry, I think really the ability to, resilience, right? I mean, we hear so much of that word, but it is very true in the legal industry. I think that's what we see to be somewhat lacking in terms of, the new generations that we are seeing. I think in the past, for us, we believe in working hard and giving it all, our all, but I think the new, generations coming in, and I don't think it's anything sort of taken away from them, but I feel that, they are obviously in a different not a different world, but they're obviously raised in a different manner, and we do find a little bit of that lacking, where they tend not to persevere, right, when things get really tough. And in the legal industry, it really gets really tough. You work really, really long hours, you've got to face really difficult clients, you've got to manage up, manage down. So I think key for me, I think resilience is one. Character is definitely, very key to us. When we interview, during that short period of time, we try to understand, what the person's background, how would the person sort of deal with, sort of life's difficulties, right? To see if they are going to be able to persevere and get through the legal industry. So, I mentioned a little bit about globalization, that the legal industry is very, it's no longer about practicing local law, right? I mean, we used to see legal or law as very local, but now, we're really talking about globalization. I don't think, at least for us, in every matter that we do, there's always a different element. We talk about the regional team, the global team. So that's the other aspect of it, right? Whether, the whole idea of being cosmopolitan and being able to interact, not only, within your own sphere, but, cross-culturally and regionally, as I said. Yeah. So those two sets of skills, I would say, would be important.
But Celeste, how can you tell from an interview if someone's going to be resilient or has cross-cultural skills? Or
well, I think so. From the interview, you will see a little bit of their EQ, right? As in how they react and how they interact. Okay. So I think that is something that will come out, from the interview. Then we then try, our best, obviously, to give them some scenarios, right, to see how they react. We
what
try
kind
to
of
give them
scenario,
questions.
Celeste? like
just about, like, for example, how you handle feedback, right? So we take in a lot of interns, as well as training contracts. So from that perspective, we do have certain recruitment tools to assess each of the candidates that we see. But we would ask them things like, okay, in your last internships, and I can tell you, the kids nowadays, right, internships, right, is almost like the thing to do. I mean, in the past, when I was in school coming out to work, right, I probably did maybe one internship.
I know, right? Me
but
too. Yeah.
But the students now, right, they do like 10. I've got no idea how they find time to do it, but they do, all these internships. So we ask them, like, for example, in your last firm, what negative feedback have you received and how do you deal with it, right? So just to really tease out how they sort of deal with, these things and how do they take feedback. But I mean, like, so we try our best, and then we go through, a period of internships. The internship as well as the training contract, just to see, just to get a sense of the personality and the character. But we don't always get it right? So, when they start work, that's where. So,
Yes,
but so we do a lot of like reviews as well, right? So, I think now there's obviously, we sort of talk about, when we talk about talent management, there's a shift away from conducting formal reviews. But we do that, really just to ensure that there is some process in place, to have a chat with our lawyers and our professional staff on how they are doing, and really just give feedback.
Okay, thank you, Celeste. So that's interesting because obviously you work for a very large company that's a worldwide presence, etc. So that's your perspective of it from that context. Benny, as from your point of view, as Accenture is also huge and you've been at it for many years, how would you? What are your thoughts on this? And are there any points where you agree with Celeste or you would take it differently?
I think coming from my at least ICT industry background, I think the short answer is it's very competitive in that sense, right? And in terms of literally trying to find maybe skilled resources and to really try to localize to find Singaporeans to want to work in this industry is actually very hard, right? Because there's a large proportion of individuals who may have maybe studied in the fields of info science, com science. After being in the industry for maybe 3 to 5 years, they literally leave the industry, right? And that's, you look at it from a macro perspective, that's obviously not so good, right? And also partly because of my personal work, in Accenture and also serving the public sector, there's always a need to, really have a larger base of local resources to actually serve, in this case, the client. So as much as that's the problem statement, right? But I think we are also trying to look at it from a different angle of not just maybe identifying the right skills into Accenture or the industry, but really trying to look at how we can groom them and to actually help to progress both the technical skills and also the soft skills as they embark Accenture. And I think for fresh starters, be it poly grads or tertiary grads, I think we have actually established a analyst or consultant framework where it's actually grouped by their individual career levels, and we sort of have identified core skills that they need to develop at each of those levels, and that's really to help them, to be more structured in a way in terms of the right skills to cultivate, and also it will come in useful as we go about doing gauging the performance along the way, as well as making sure that they sort of learn the right skills.
And is that at Accenture level, like across the board, or specific to, for example, ICT, which is your area?
It's mostly predominantly for Accenture at the moment, right? And that's really coming from our collective experience in terms of what does it take to literally do well and to survive in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. Because the consulting, the large scale SI type business is actually a marathon per se, right? Working hours will be long. You never know when the servers will come crashing down, right? And it's usually over the period where maybe December or whatever, all these things happen, right? And over time it has a toy, to the employees, and people will feel that why am I technically or literally working so hard when someone in other industry has it easier, right? So like it or not, this is part and parcel of the industry, and what we really wanted to do is to make sure that from day one, as they join us, they sort of have a better picture and understanding on what the industry is. And we wanted to, rather than let some of these negative thoughts come in along the way, I think we wanted to really have that framework to actually help them, right? So some of the key, traits we look at when we hire or when we try to, sort of groom them is really making sure that the individuals sort of have a hunger to want to learn and learn new skills, right? although I personally is not very old, but I feel that the industry shift is actually taking shape quite rapidly, right? Many years ago when I just joined Accenture, when I shared that I do SAP ERP type projects, I think hard work will get you there, right? Because it's literally a single product. You focus on that module, you put in long hours, you will get to the outcome. But the project of today is very different from the project of yesterday, right? We're talking about, digitalization. We're talking about so many different techniques or solutions out there, right? It can be a cloud-based, and, cloud is an animal by itself in terms of, architecting and the likes of it. And of course, from an application perspective, there's the API, there's mobile and all those things, right? It's harder, right, in terms of trying to get everything to come together, right? So even the resources have a lot more options. So having that quest, the initiative to want to learn something, and knowing the shift in the industry, or that will really help in terms of shaping what they do on a daily basis. Communication skills and empathy is something that is often overlooked, right? And earlier on when we had a chat, we talked about design thinking and the likes of it. I think very much now, any product that we deliver, we build, we really have to understand and then put the end user in perspective, right? It's no longer about building something very good with no bugs, and you launch it to the market, people will buy it. I think it's also trying to make sure that people want to use it in a nice way, and also it has that larger purpose and mission in life, into how that product can actually be used across industries. So very much of some of those thinking is also, I guess, necessary to have that perspective in terms of the individual's contribution. And I think not to drain the conversation, but I think the other a few key traits is really logical thinking and reasoning, right? Because client will not buy Accenture or a company just because that you're Accenture, right? You literally need to be on the ground, understand their pain points, and you need to really have a structure and I guess a solution in consultation with them to get to the right outcome, right? So and things change, right? So having the agile mindset change along the way, I think that's really critical in this stage. And also, of course, COVID has sort of made the digitalization journey a bit faster. And lastly, I would like to maybe always share my newer employees, to be creative and really think without the box, right? Because you think outside the box is still the boundary, right? So you really need to think what you actually building the product, delivering the solution for, and what would it be in really the new state of the world, right? So I think that those are maybe summary points around what we will typically be looking out for.
Thank you, Benny. I think we like what you said about thinking out of the box, but I suppose the devil is in the details and how to execute it. I think also about being innovative and creative, you actually have to have a base of core skills first before you can add creativity. Otherwise, you may have all these amazing ideas, but you cannot execute, or nobody can understand you. Also another issue. So I also have to say, correct or not, client management, like why this is the best solution or not, because they're paying money for it. So there's buy-in. Yeah.
It's a bit of risk-taking, to be honest, on the employer end as well, because if we started out with the mindset to say, I only want to hire someone with this skill set, I'm very sure you can never find that in the market. So as you, it's very hard nowadays, right, to actually find the right fit, right? So I would rather adopt more of a agile process, and whoever employees we have, if the problem statement is there, we can try. And I think one of the mantra we have is, if we were to fail, let's fail fast, right? Let's iterate and fail fast, and let's try a different approach to get the outcome, right? Because I think failing is actually part of the innovative process, right? If you want to innovate, I don't think any innovator has got it right in the first time, right? So from a culture perspective, we really wanted to really embrace that and let people know that it's okay to fail. Right? I think sometimes being Singaporean, we are a bit kiasi to fail. We wanted to take the safe option, safe choice, right? I think that is also a mindset I feel generally we need to change. So, but But it doesn't mean failing in a big project, right? It really means that, we know how to manage that risk, right? We carve out a space where we can do exploratory, type of work. And if we fail, then we just time box it there, right? And we move on, right? But that is, at least to me, essential area that at least Accenture has to look at. And also it helps to maybe breed and the new generation in terms of, knowing that we are sort of as an employer behind them to actually support their ideas as well.
Yeah, thank you, Benny. So we're hearing that our students must be able to learn to fail and fail fast, and presumably pick themselves up again after that. So that's linked to what Celeste said. And she said that they're interested in finding out how new hires, how they take feedback. Yeah. So yeah. So Terence, can I come to you next? What kind of people would you hire, and what kind of skills? Do you hire local Singaporeans? I also don't know, because your company is so diverse.
We hire globally. Of course, the team in Singapore are largely Singaporeans, mainly because of all the quotas and stuff like that. But I definitely agree with everything Benny is saying. Think without the box. In fact, I sometimes tell my guys to think inside the box, because I say the whole definition of creativity is you're given X budget, X parameters, X time to deliver a solution. So that's your box. You have to be, if you give me some fantastical solution that's going to take 16 years to build,
right? Yeah.
It's not a solution, right? So you have to think inside the box. But, we're basically saying the same thing in a different way. But when it comes to hiring, let me share a story. I once hired someone from a jazz club. So I play jazz piano. I hang out at jazz clubs all the time. So I met this jazz pianist, and he plays much better than I. So I was like, okay, I'm very impressed. I started chatting with him, hoping to learn something. So I go every night and listen to him. And then I realized that he picked up jazz piano on his own. He's classically trained, and he is now a very good bassist because he learned it just watching YouTube. And by the way, he also plays the violin and the cello, all self-taught, just, from
not
watching
normal,
YouTube.
this guy.
Not normal, right? And then
abnormal.
Yeah, totally abnormal. And I asked, what's your day job? He works as a research assistant in NTU, helping a professor doing, and then he started going into angstrom angles and rate of vibration, and they are measuring the stability of the ground to support a very large lens for some sub nanometer measurements. And I was like, whoa. So he has a mechanical engineering background. And so I immediately hired him. I said, come into the office tomorrow, speak to some of my guys. We want to hire you. We need a musician who can code. And he says, yeah, I don't really code. I do a bit of coding. Are you guys still here? Because my screen changed.
I'm still here.
Okay. So
yep,
I hired him mainly because, like what Benny said, you will never find the right skill set. You don't go out and say, I want to hire a QA engineer, or I want to hire an iOS developer. You go out and hire the smartest badass you can find, because the smart guys will figure it out. They will learn anything 6 times faster than the next guy. And true enough, this guy came in. I told him, yeah, you're not a coder, but you need to be a coder, and you have 6 months. And in 6 months, he is able to code in both iOS and Android. And he's my only developer that cuts across both teams. I have a team of Android guys. I have a team of iOS guys. This guy fixes bugs for both teams. And together with him, we invented automatic drone video editing, because this is 5 years ago when drones were first coming out, consumer drones. And I was flying a lot of drones, and I realized, hey, we need an editing software that automatically summarizes a drone flight. So I gave him some ideas and said, go ahead and think about this. I'm off to my next trip. 3 weeks later, he has a prototype where we basically took all the gyroscope and accelerometer meter readings from a drone. From there, we predict which parts of the drone videos are stable and interesting, and then we summarize it automatically. And of course, cut to the beat of the music. And we almost found a pattern for that, but we didn't. And, it's a discussion me and Celeste can have for a long time, but we decided, we are a company that used to pride ourselves on having 26 global patents, and we totally just let go of everything and went on a strategy of not patenting. It's another long discussion why. But I do think that, your question, what skills are needed for students to thrive in your industry it really depends, right? Are you hiring a CTO? Are you hiring a QA test engineer? Are you hiring a developer, or in a legal sense, are you hiring a client-facing person? I think the skills needed to thrive would be very different, obviously. But if you want to boil it down, this has never been any different from 50 years ago to it is today. I like to say that one of the biggest thing I look for is I need to find someone who is lazy. I like lazy people. I always tell my guys, you got to be lazy. You got to work hard at being lazy. To find the shortest cut, to find the easiest way to do something to achieve, it's productivity in a different form. And I think curiosity is very important. Knowledge these days is not so important because you can Google and wiki everything. So you don't really need, of course, you need your core training and deep skill set in certain areas, but anybody can learn anything, except to maybe do brain surgery. Almost everything can be learned. Whether you want to learn Python tomorrow, you want to learn AI, neural networks, no problem. Everything you can read up, you can go to the Udacity and anything at all. And there's Skills Future credit some more to pay for it. So knowledge is not so important, but rather the ability to synthesize and acquire knowledge is very important. I think those are really key. Yeah.
So when you're not hiring in jazz clubs, do you have normal recruitment processes?
The other way we hire is usually through friends and family of existing employees. Because I think when an existing smart people want to work with smart people, nobody wants to work with assholes. So they will never recommend another asshole to work in a company. And because we only hire the very smartest people, they tend to hang out with other smart people, right? And if they are willing to recommend a friend, or even better, a sister or a brother or cousin into the company, it means they really love the company. They believe in the leadership, they believe in the company, that they are willing to bring in more people into the dark side, right? Very often we recently moved to a WeWork in Shenton Way. So at lunch, I hear the Shenton Way crowd. Most of the time, people are either catching what's that game where you catch Pokemon. They're either wasting their lunch hour catching Pokemon, or they're bitching about their bosses. There's only two things that people do at Shenton Way hawker centers. They're catching Pokemon, or they're bitching about their bosses. They're always bitching about their bosses. I don't know why, but I think I like to think my guys don't do that, because we actually have a lot of people who bring in their friends. And we have a lot of employees who've been with us from the very beginning, since Series A investment for 10, 15 years. I think our youngest employee is like 7 years. So for the tech industry, that's a very long tenure. We recently lost one guy to Facebook, and this is Facebook Palo Alto. So that one can't be helped. They triple his salary, ship him off to Silicon Valley. So, but that's the kind of caliber of people we deal with, and we have to, because we are small. We are in Singapore. We are global. We compete globally. We compete with the best AI companies in China. We compete with the best companies in Silicon Valley for the Motorola contract, for Nokia, and these customers ship globally. So each app that we build are localized into 75 languages, for example. And every quarter there's a refresh. Every month there are refreshes, bug fixes and stuff. So it's complex work, deep and complex.
We hear you, Terence. So you have to be really smart to work at your company, because anything else probably cannot cope with the work or cannot cut it, and will not fit into the culture and the environment. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. You will sink on the first day, because you will very, very, very quickly realize all these smart people around you. What the hell am I doing here?
And I also love what you said about being lazy, efficient. lazy to be more efficient, but maybe I'll just add, you might need a bit of integrity because there are many ways to be lazy. And yeah.
Oh, obviously, yeah. So, integrity, all those are basic, decent human being traits, not just skills to thrive in any industry, right? Integrity, doing doing the right thing when no one is looking, and like what Celeste said, I think resilience is obviously very important, because to be lazy, you also need to be resilient. You kind of need to keep finding the best solution before you start work, because the natural tendency for any engineer, developer is to, problem statement. All right, I'm going to start writing my first hello world code, and start bringing in libraries and instantiating classes. But that is almost the absolute wrong approach. You have to almost have the patience to say, okay, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to read up, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to draw it out, and then I'm going to throw away everything I did yesterday, start all over again in the morning, because after I've slept on it, I realized there's actually a simpler solution. And then you keep cooking and distilling and flambeing the food that you have until it's reduced down to its essence, the kueh ting, that you can put into one bottle, and then you code.
Okay, this is my cue to call in Alan. All these food analogies. So, Alan, do you agree with Terrace? As a fellow engineer, do you flambe and distill and sous vide or whatever in your?
No, I use a wok.
Okay.
I use a wok.
For the wok, hey.
And yeah, I think my turn already.
Yeah. So
Okay.
in your industry, so what does one need to become a farmer? I remember you said that you had to talk some people out of being farmers.
First of all, I think the audience may be interested to know what is this industry.
Yeah.
I think I spent a minute or two talking about this industry. This industry is actually agriculture, something that Singapore hasn't been doing for the last 40, 50 years, right? And has recently woken up to the concept, right? And what is essentially this industry, right? It is basically a combination of agri, bio, and science and tech, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I'm actually chairing in fact, beginning of COVID-19, I co-chaired a task force in MTI, specifically looking at the opportunities that we would have or we can capture post-COVID-19 in the agri sphere, right? And we deduce that in the years to come, the agri industry will play an important role in the region. And our aspiration today is not to grow the food that we need in 2030, right? The 30 for 30 has been shout around quite a lot. But let's take a look at what other countries that is similar to Singapore has done over a short span of 20 years. And the country that I'm referring to specifically is the Netherlands. The Netherlands has also some kind of constraint like Singapore, whereby they have very little arable land. They are actually below sea level. But 20 years ago, they decided to grow 2 times the food at half the amount of land given. And today, in the supermarkets in Singapore, you can actually buy Netherlands tomatoes, peppers at very, very high quality, right? And they have, in a short span of 20 years, became a leader, not in every agriculture, but a certain amount, a certain variety, right? Now, why am I saying this? Is because it's in our view as a nation that we cannot be the champion in agriculture in everything, right? We cannot grow rice. We cannot grow palm oil. Right? We cannot grow Mao Shan for the matter of fact.
Okay.
But we can be champion in capturing the entire value chain of a particular something, be it chili or vegetable or eggs or fish or shrimp or lobster. The whole idea of the agri industry today is not about taking a seed and giving a plant. It's actually going all the way down to the science behind the seeds, the science behind mass populating this for a climate challenge world. for the challenge of population, the challenge of supply chain. Now, with all these things coming to play, right, we hope that in about 10 years' time, so we're going to beat the Netherlands at it. We are actually really thinking that in 10 to 15 years' time, Singapore can emerge as a strong player regionally for in a particular one or two key investment area that we want to be in.
And
So,
what kind of
yeah.
people would be needed therefore?
Yeah. So I've been going around doing roadshows on this vision to the universities, to the different institute as well. I haven't come to TP yet, I'm sorry. But ESG is doing the roadshow with me. We are really worried that in 10 to 12 years' time, the effect is that it is actually we're going to run out of leadership in the agri industry. We're going to run out of skills, and we actually have to import more people than we actually could produce our own, right? So where can we start now? What kind of skills? So there's skill set and there's values, right? And there's character. Today, the skill set that we really need in the upcoming agri industry, right, are people who could merge bio and tech and science with a bigger sense of the world, the global view, the world view, right? It is quite difficult to find things like this within the current training because we have not really think about the bio as plants. We have thought of bio as the drug, genomics, and all, but we have not thought about bio as an agri form of bio, right? For example, seed hybridization. What is it, right? It's for your information, seed hybridization is a 20 billion business globally. Yeah.
What is
hello?
it?
Can everyone?
Yeah.
Seed hybridization. No more someone, right? It didn't come from a tree. It came from years and years of crossbreeding. But today with CRISPR, I just realized last week that CRISPR system can be bought for $7,000 US. The genomic editing machine now available at $7,000. It used to cost $1 million. Are we training our students to be super conversant in CRISPR? Like, for example, if I want to get a new variety of, say, kailan, anyway, we eat brassica range, which is everything from chaisim to kailan to kale. So please don't buy kale at $7. Just eat your normal chaisim. It's the same thing. But if
Really?
we want to create a new breed, to create a new breed that climate resistant, that is high nutrition, right? I need to look at 50 or 60 sets of genomes, take out all this and create 20, 30 sets again through CRISPR, trial it out in the grow situation, and I do variety selection. Pick out those that I think can win. Then I narrow it down again and narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down to maybe 5 or 6 candidates. Then it goes through the massive growing process and we breed the seeds.
So Alan, that's what your people do, your staff, your team does.
My team is going to do. Right now, but I wanted to share because everyone has spoken with me, asked me about what this agri industry is. We know about software industry, we know about legal, but the agri industry, I'm trying to say, is actually bigger than what we think it is today, right? And it will be a massive explosion because we need people, right? Netherlands employ close to 60,000 people in agri, generating close to 15 to 20 billion dollars worth of export, and every year they have 1.2 billion to 1.4 billion invested in R&D. Not just government funded. A major portion comes from global players go to Netherlands to do deep research on tomatoes. Now, I have touched about what the industry is. I'm not going to talk about the skills. Today, again, I have just sort of talked about the fact that we need to cross-cultivate skills, right? I would prefer that if you want to be a farmer, right, the bio basics has to be there. So the whole idea of fundamental of biology, plant science has to be taught somewhere, right? They need to have the idea that what is the plant, what is the animal, what's the fish, what are vaccines, how does it work? Then they need to understand process biology as a process in breeding, right? Which is where the agricultural part comes in. And then they need to now learn the whole system of coding, of IoT, of mechanics. Why? Because actually nobody goes into my greenhouse. Everything is coded into the sensors, into the pumps, into the nutrient dosing. We only go in on and go in with really be damn, but maybe our contact quite thing. Those initiatives are okay. And this is the shape of things. Now, then what are the characteristics? Given that we are that we need people with a bigger set of work that understand that we actually don't know a lot of things around the world and have the hunger to drive that knowledge. Right? We are actually starting behind everyone. We need to catch up. So any Singapore company that starts is actually 20 to 30 years behind the last leader, and our ambition of them is 10 years. So the group of people that needs is really have to have that pioneering spirit. They have to have a sense of what the world is. Right?
Sorry, Alan. Let me just stop you a minute. Just a note to our other participants, just a reminder to mute your mics so that we can hear our speakers clearly. Sorry, Alan, please continue.
Okay.
Yeah, pioneering spirit. Yes, we hear you. Yes.
I know I'm 10 minutes already, so I better wrap up. Yeah, because if not, I'll be like Terence, cannot finish it.
Okay.
But okay, so
people not be farmers then? Yeah.
We get people in and we start them off as volunteer for us in the beginning, because we always get people who come in with a wrong mindset, saying that, okay, I will develop a tech and we will scale, until they actually get to try the tech or try whatever they have. And then they realize, bloody hell, we're just growing vegetable. Vegetable is vegetable. No matter how fancy it is, it's $6 a kilo.
They don't
right?
Like they want to develop app, is it, with Terence instead? They don't want to
Yeah,
grow.
yeah. They need to understand that in the agri industry, right, it is small steps that make a giant leap. It's not the one day discovery. It is really working in iterations, right? I try this nutrient set, I try this, and then I try in multiple steps. I get some result again, and then over a period of time, your company or your production goes 10x. And they also have to have some gumption and resilience in that sense, because failure is quite horrible visually. Yeah. So in the greenhouse, when you fail, right, the entire greenhouse rots. It's like apocalypse. And the worst part is, in Terence's case, right, if your coding fail, you just delete or delete the file, right? No, we actually go in the greenhouse and we clean up everything. Like 10,000 plants to trash bag. And that's bloody physical labor. So I will end there. And then maybe we can continue later. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So just give me a minute. I'm just going to stop sharing screen so that we can all see each other on the screen again. So thank you everybody for your sharings, and also for patiently listening to each other. I was wondering if my guests wanted to ask each other any questions when you are hearing them talk about movie or Comcrop. Celeste, you want to ask anything? Or Benny?
No, maybe just some, observations. So I definitely agree that, in terms of the hiring process, having So I think Terence mentioned about how he gets his employees to get his friends, and how intelligent people tend to with intelligent, folks as well. And for me, certainly, I do go with one mantra, right? That when I hire somebody, I want to hire people who are better than myself because I want to improve the organization. So, just an observation. So I think that really resonates with me, right? Yeah.
Thank you. That's why I invited you all to this webinar. Yeah, I'm more intelligent than myself and more interesting. Sorry, Benny, any questions to ask the rest or any observations?
No, I think I definitely agree with Celeste and Terence. Resilience, and what Terence mentioned about having. It's exactly the same for my industry. I also agree with Ellen. In terms of maybe areas or topics of maybe sustainability, right? Is definitely going to be one of the growth area in the months or years to come, right? So definitely there needs to be some focus put on it, not just from a national level, right? But I think really getting people to be interested in that sort of industry and to also start gearing up for that. I think that is something worth considering.
Thank you.
Yeah, Celeste, I'm the chief lazy officer. So I always hire someone smarter than myself so that they can do my work. Then I don't have to do anything. Yay!
But you got to manage them, and management for me is one of the most difficult tasks because all of you guys lead teams, right? Or you manage interns. So I think that's why I thought from your own experiences, who is manageable and who is not lah. I'm not sure. Very smart people, but won't listen to you, then how? So as we're talking, for the rest of the audience, please start putting your questions into the chat box as we're chatting among ourselves so that we can respond. Yeah. What was I saying? Yes, smart people can manage it.
Yeah, correct. So, for us, like I said, I think we do see very good CVs, across our tables.
I think should be okay.
And I must say that, we do see a lot of people who are in, who are first class honors. So I'm not generalizing here, but I do find that sometimes, with the folks who have the first class, degrees, they're somewhat lacking in terms of communication skills. So, I think there's a question around like what soft skill trainings, right? You'll be surprised. We give soft skills trainings around how to just communicate, how to write your memos better so that your client understand actually what you're writing.
Really? In-house? Oh, wow. Lawyers cannot write simply. Sorry lah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No, lawyers are paid to write, it's not simply, right? So that nobody else understands.
Come on, Terence, be nice. I'm also a lawyer.
So hereinafter, notwithstanding in so hereinafter.
It's a skill. There's the reason why it's written like that, right, Celeste? Right, all my fellow lawyers here. Yeah,
it's a skill. So I think communication is a skill. We find that increasingly, for us, I think across all industries as well, getting the message across appropriately and in a manner that is useful to the person who is receiving it, right, is a real skill. Not everybody can do that. We may be really brilliant in our own ways, but if we can't communicate what is going to be of value to the listener, then it's a fail, right? No client's going to pay you to tell legal principles are. They want you to solve their problems. So I think communication, is a key skill for us. So and not all intelligent persons can actually communicate. What
Absolutely.
They have.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when you manage in teams, what about team dynamics? If you have a team of all smart, clever people, all smarter than you, presumably they take feedback well, and that's why you hired them. So is there anything as to composition of teams?
No, absolutely not. In fact, if they are really truly smart, they know when you are right and they don't argue back. And when you are wrong, they cover your ass. So it's easy to manage. It's really easy to manage if you hire real smart people, not people who think they're smart, which is 99% of people. The ones who think they're smarter than you will argue about everything. You say, no, boss, you are wrong because, we are a flat culture. I can argue with the boss. And they argue about everything because they want to show to their colleagues that they are smarter than the boss. Those are the wrong kind of hires. Because they're not really smart. The really smart one will know, this guy makes sense. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. No questions asked. They're smart enough to know you're right. And that's important.
So how, Benny, do your people argue with you?
Actually, not enough lah, right? Because I guess we
Think
also
out of the
sort
box.
of
You want them to think out of the box. Yeah.
we for our business or ideas to thrive, you really need to have that dialogue and conversation, right? And you need to have that debate going, right? So and we always believe that the more voices heard, right, you always lead to a better outcome lah. But I think again, I'm not trying to generalize, right? But I think sometimes culturally, for Singaporeans, we tend to be a bit more shy than maybe people from other nationalities are. So I mean, if you have a room of 50 people in a forum or whatever, you probably will only get one or two. You don't have that sort of robustness in terms of that discussion, right? So I always tell my teams it's actually okay to voice out, right? Even if you don't like me or whatever, fine. But somehow, people always associate as, if you say something wrong to your boss, he's going to, put a black mark on you. It's going to affect your whatever, performance and things like that. I think that's really a wrong mindset, right? Because before even trying, you really sort of corner yourself and say, that's the worst case that can happen, right? So that's my take, right?
Thanks for that. So I love the idea that actually I think people need to learn how to disagree. I mean, there's dialogue and there's constructive dialogue. And I think recently that, especially the younger people, they just like to blow their opinions and their minds. And then once you present them with an opposing view, then they don't know how to interact with it, find their way around it. And yeah, I'm not sure. Alan, what do you think? Especially the last GE election, you can see everybody is so fired up about things. It's really impossible to calm down and to talk. Yeah.
I'm going to go to the mushy side of things. We've been dealing with this thing very logically. We take a look at IQ, we take a look at skill set, we measure, we matrix. But there's one thing that I find in COVID-19 that has been a great thing for my team. It's a sense of empathy amongst all of us. That today, and again, this comes with a better worldview and a better understanding of what the world is today. For the empathy to work, right, there's a lot more to do with the other side of the brain, the not so cerebral side of things. Because as a team, when everybody is sibei kiang, there needs to be the sibei kiang, but I also know you very kiang, Then together, especially today, when you're not in physical connection with each other, you don't catch nuances of what is going on behind my screen, right? You don't catch nuances. You don't know whether your boss or your co-worker are going through a hard time by looking at a screen. And how do we encourage those to work, right? I think more and more that empathy in people has to come out, right? Beyond the IQ and all. So I think those are things that it's probably harder to train. And then you were right. Today the work culture and the cancel culture, right? It has slowly infiltrated into organization. When you work against a certain practice that you think is bad, but you see it as a bad thing happening, but the intent was actually good, but you cancel the entire thing, the entire process. I see that happening in quite a few larger organizations. And people should speak up, but should speak up with the sense that I'm speaking up so that and I'm prepared to hear a response. How do we train those mindsets?
So the questions I have coming in are related because we've been talking about the importance of resilience, empathy, and now of being outspoken or being able to dialogue. So the questions I have coming in are centered around, what are your ideas or suggestions or your experiences in, because these are skills and actually some adults also cannot do it properly, right? Let's not talk about our students. How do we help our students? What are your suggestions? I think Celeste, you mentioned the mock exercise.
Yeah, so we do a lot of, in our, structured internships or training programs, we do set up exercises for for our associates, for our interns and our trainees to simulate, how would you present a proposal to a client? You know, I mean, if you are in a meeting, how should you conduct yourself, right? So before we send them out into the into the real, we have them do it internally first, you know, and give them feedback, you know, on that. So that's what we do a lot of during our internships, and I think that the trainees and the interns, they do appreciate that, because you know it gives them a safe space to try out different ways, right? And we find it really effective as well. I mean, we use it as an assessment tool. So when we, you know, assess the interns, we see how they present themselves during these mock exercises.
Thank you. Other ideas? How does one cultivate empathy and resilience if I don't want to do an Ironman? Yeah.
When I speak with people who are interested to join the industry, right, and because Comscore is one of the front runner, so we do get you know, a lot of people coming to talk to us. First thing I actually ask them is whether they have done any volunteering before, what type of volunteering do they do? Because it tells a lot about the inclination of a person when things really matter, right? And when how can I present a mission in a way that he can understand? So things like this, I do a lot. So, and I get them to join me on all my volunteering stuff. And I think beyond the idea of assessing them, I hope they also walk away with somewhat a better experience, right? They may not continue with the organization that they volunteer with, but at least it's a better way for them to understand. And I'm also very mindful that we won't go and clean up beaches just to clean up beaches or pick rubbish. I'm actually today looking a lot more in meaningful volunteering for my team. Very meaningful ones that really like, where do you go and source 1,000 underwear for migrant worker in the middle of COVID-19?
Yes.
That story is a totally different story. But how do you do that? How do you problem solve on the go while still managing that aspect of kindness and being thoughtful about things? So I do a lot.
I'd like to address a few questions and I think misinterpretations. So first is Douglas. He mentioned that there's a lot of tautology. I had to Google tautology, by the way. It's too team for engineers. Tautology is the philosophy of Tao. Okay, so I did not say that. I did say smart people can learn anything, and I think that is largely true. But anyone who can learn anything is smart is not true. That is not a commutative law. And here's why. I think it's almost basic that anyone can learn anything today, because you can read up. You need to have curiosity and discipline. But it doesn't mean that anyone who can learn anything is smart, because a lot of people think they have learned something. But in that particular example, the guy I hired did not just learn jazz piano. He learned it to a level where he is paid to perform. He did it at a mastery level, not just, I can play a few G7 flat 5 sharp 13 chords, you know. And he was reharmonizing, rearranging, and then he picked up bass guitar and became one of the best, most sought after bass sessionists in Singapore. So this is mastery level. He learned it on his own up to the mastery level, not just learn bass guitar. Any 16-year-old can learn bass guitar on YouTube. That's not smart enough. So that's one. And I think how do you discern that at on the CV level or in an interview? And I think the short answer is no. And I go back to Benny's thing. We fail fast. So we hire fast, we fire fast. If you don't fit in, we don't waste your time. We fire you. We wish you well and put you in a better place, because you're obviously not fitting and it's not good for your career. Of course, there are some ways to minimize that risk, because hiring and firing is expensive and traumatic, both for the manager and the kid. I do think that, like Celeste mentioned, good grades are almost taken for granted. So we don't just always look for first-class honors or people with PhDs and masters, although that helps in certain jobs. Of course, we don't hire a PhD to do mobile software testing that we outsource to India, right? But for the innovative R&D jobs where we really need the smarts and developers, very often discipline in life is usually a good indicator that they, on top of the good marks and everything, right? I think discipline is very important because that helps you become lazy. You need to have the discipline to keep attacking a problem. You need to have the discipline to keep doing something at 6 a.m. every day without fail. So whether there's a sport or there's an ECA where they volunteer or something that shows that they are able to get out of their comfort zone to do something. So as a practicing triathlete, I like to say, triathlon is super long distance. It's about resilience and it's about discipline. Waking up on Saturday morning at 4:30 to go cycle 6 hours and then run 2 hours after that, and that's your weekend. People spend 8 hours at the office. You spend 8 hours on your ass on the bicycle. So that shows discipline for one, and resilience because it's darn painful and freaking boring. Okay, so but are you able to keep at it? So if you're a tennis player at the top of your game, it shows that you have put in a lot of discipline to train. And of course, discipline comes in a lot of other different ways. And do we hire people with disabilities and all that? Obviously, we don't discriminate, especially now when you can work from home. It doesn't matter if you are in a wheelchair. If you can punch buttons on a mobile phone, you're hired. Right? If you're smart enough to use your brains with, and if you need to code, obviously you need your fingers, but we don't need your legs to code. So that to us is not important. I think there was another question about cultural background. And I do think that in Singapore, we are very lucky because our kids already grow up in a multicultural background because, we are Singapore, regardless of race, religion, and blah, blah, blah. But I do think that it is very important to tell your kids to have friends outside of their usual circle. So if you're into water skiing, make friends with people who are into rollerblading. Don't just hang out with the water ski dudes, because these people are going to grow up in a very different tangent and your paths are going to cross at some point, and that's where you enter a different social network and you learn new things. You learn about rollerblading or tennis or something else. So whether if you're a scout, have friends who are Along, children of Along and Abings, because you never know what you can learn from them. So you need to have, Alan is one. Yeah, Alan and I were in the same, we were classmates in JC and Gina. So I've known this guy for more than half my life, FYI. So, you need to know people from all walks of life and you just never know what comes back 20 years later.
Thank you,
Terence. Can I add on something to Terence?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. The Along and Abing issue. Over the COVID-19, I have a lot of friends, and I think this is relevant because during COVID-19, I do have quite a few friends of my vintage, which is between the 40 and the 50, coming back to tell me, hey, I've been laid off, I've been retrenched, I need to look for a job. And then I started looking, right, and I started to push resumes around. But then it came across to me when every time I ask them, hey, so how big is your social circle? How much social capital do you have? The response was, actually for the last 10 to 12 years, the whole focus is on family and I have social circle is my parent support group, is my child's tuition group, is my, so I said, what about your original social group that you inherit, that you have when you graduate, or do you have a hobby and etc.? Then I realized that after they have graduated, right, they lose touch after a certain milestone in life, and that puts them into a very straight path, because the whole focus then now becomes something tangible, right? It's improvement, career, etc. So I wanted to also look at this from the origin point of view. That means, how do university and institution imbued some kind of mindset into the graduates that they should not lose their social circle. They must actually, throughout their difficult times or their their family and everything, still try to connect back or develop new social circle. Like go and play jazz in a bar, go and learn something new, do something that scares them. Because you will inherit a different mindset, but more importantly, your social capital. So I'm going to stop at that. Sorry.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I love that. Random friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, random
Benny,
friends.
do you have random friends, Benny? What are your circles like? Yeah. And do you agree with Alan that maybe in the poly we should teach our students to expand their social circle?
I think the softer skills are actually quite important. You're right, if you ask me, because if you have kids who are literally young now, I think the truth is that in 5 years, 10 years time, whatever that you are teaching, the individual now, it will not be relevant then, right? So I think it's really about teaching the mindset about how do you maybe learn and unlearn something. How do you, back to Terrence's point, be curious about new things. I think those are the traits that will help you be successful in the new world, right? I think that's one point. I also just want to cover maybe some of the other comments that have been scrolling up. I think when it comes to culture, I think you wanted to maybe change the organization culture. It's really hard, right, to be honest, but it has to really start from the top. Right.
Yeah.
So to really change the culture, it's not so much about just sending a message, email, say let's change the culture, right? It's going to be almost a targeted group, identifying your different groups within the organization and all the way from bottom to top, right? And then having that openness to actually share stories. Very often we share success stories, but we don't share about failure stories. I think it's very important for people to stand up to say, I failed in this, but what have I actually learned from that? And for the leadership to come in and say, good job in that, let's try again differently, right? And not to, behind the scenes start pointing finger to say, haha, I'm successful in my area of work and so on and so forth, right? I think that's one part. The other part about how do we maybe make polygrads to be more successful in the careers and whatever. I think this is also one of the bugbear that I have. I think at 18 years old, at 20, so you are probably not that mature, unfortunately. You want to have fun and all those things, right? And my point, as a parent, also as a individual, I think by all means go out and enjoy your life, right? Because life is so short. You need to actually make friends, you need to learn new cultures, to actually gain experience. And that is very, very important as you mature later on in life. So what we do, is we actually have the learn and earn program,
Learn and
right?
learn program, yeah.
Yeah, right. A few years ago, and within Accenture, we have actually almost hired about 60 over people along the years. And what we have done internally is to streamline the career path in such that we don't discriminate people who may be a non-graduate, right? So once you come in, you may come in as a career level that's maybe lower than a grad, but actually that the path to succeed to be an executive is exactly the same, right? And we are probably maybe in year 4, year 5 of the program now. I do have candidates who join as a junior developer. They are actually now consultant, standing like to like with West and so on and so forth. So I think that's really critical to make sure that we help them succeed, right? And really to take the notion away from chasing paper. I rather chase experience, chase skills than to chase a paper qualification where actually it means nothing in the industry, right? Because it's really about the skills and being relevant.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
maybe just to add on that, I think, for us, so I do agree with the whole culture thing. So in Baker McKenzie, diversity and inclusion is a big thing, right? Diversity and inclusion really is cross-cultural. It encompasses everything that is diverse and inclusive. But I think with the poly, graduates, I do say that in the last, few years that I've been involved in recruitment and in talent management as well. In fact, I like to see a candidate, that has, gone through a different path from the others, because it shows, again, some resilience on their part, right? And we've had very good successes with candidates who have come to. Sorry, a lot of background.
Sorry. If I could request everyone to mute their mic. I think Shirley and I are right.
Yep. Someone's mic is turned on. Yep.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Please
I was going to say
continue.
that I think we've seen a lot of successes with students that have gone through the poly, done a few years of work, gone into law school and then join us. And I like to see that in a candidate, because like I said, it shows a certain dedication, right, to the industry and to this area of practice. And we have also seen poly graduates sort of come in to join us, as maybe a paralegal. And then after a few years, they go and do their degree, and we welcome them back, after they've done their degree as well. So, I think there are different, paths, for different people, and we fully embrace that.
Okay, so I need to wrap up soon, but may I ask, everybody's been asking, so any recommendations, suggestions for us in the poly? Benny has already mentioned his own take, but you can add on that. What can we do to improve our curriculum based on your experience of poly graduates that you've hired or mentor? How can we,
Okay,
I think the
I'll go first.
social.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I think it's
Sorry.
just the social skills, right? So we do find, I do personally find that some poly students that come in, they're a little bit reticent and a bit shy from that perspective. So I think that definitely is one. I mean, how to sell themselves is a key skill for you guys.
Okay, you mean compared to like the uni or SMU? Sorry, those that.
Yeah, correct. So I can tell you that SMU, right, they're very good with that whole communication, packaging yourself, kind of training. I can see that, even different between SMU and NUS students, right? So SMU
Because they
really
assess that
focuses on
way.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
But are they smart? Okay.
Yeah.
Ellen, yes.
So that's
Are they
another thing.
okay.
It's a
So I
different
always
thing.
leave my roadshow with a challenge to the institution. So I'm going to give the challenge. I think can the institution try to look at reverse mentoring? It's a very interesting thing. Having the younger folks, the student, right, teach people like me. That means I go and get mentored by them. And I think this is a wonderful engagement. I know now that I don't know a lot of things that they do. And then I think in terms of what our mentor model has always been, you are older, you're far more established in your career. It's about you teaching my graduate. But today, I think in the VUCA world, right, it is much more different. They actually know things that we don't. But we don't see schemes like this where there is an informal association of people together, so that the younger folks can actually, reverse mentor, right? So I'm hoping for people to teach me how to do TikTok, man. Yeah, it is fun, right? It is fun.
Alan, this thing already exists. It's called employment. You pay them for those lessons.
Yeah, and it may lead to employment. But in a reverse mentoring situation, both sides gain, and they widen their social circle. And they hopefully, it's a very different dynamic. I've tried it once or twice. I got people to reverse mentor me on how to code Python and stuff like that. Which is quite fun.
What I'm hearing is that our students should be able to share their knowledge with someone who is a more senior authority figure. Would that be accurate? Or someone who's maybe even their boss, so they must not be so stuck in that.
Yeah, but in the first place, there has to be a culture in a company or organization which allows the kid to say, I can actually open my mouth and say something, right? Because a lot of kids come in, and I have meetings. At least in my culture, in my company's culture, in a meeting, the most junior guy can come up to the whiteboard and erase what I just wrote and say, no, we have to do it this way. And that's encouraged. And I'm very happy when I see that happening. And, very often they are wrong. They're just plain wrong. But I will explain it to them and they will understand why they are wrong. But I give them the time and space to tell us everything, and then I tell him he's wrong, unfortunately.
So, parents, one suggestion for the poly, how we can, help our learners, and then to Benny after,
I guess in your classroom, do you allow kids to come up and tell the lecturer that he's wrong? That would be. Are the lecturers able and willing to stand corrected? Because if you do not have that culture in class, then on the first day of work, They're not, they're so used to the lecturer knows best. There's a textbook answer, and therefore there's a correct answer and a wrong answer. There's no, I believe, in my humble opinion, all those things don't exist anymore. There's a textbook answer, and if there's a textbook answer, you fail, because we are trying to solve problems in this world that has no textbook answer. The textbook has not been written yet.
Thank you, Terence. Benny, did you want to add on? Just now you mentioned some.
So I'm just trying to connect the the dots together and maybe try to solution now, right? It's like I mean, if you're already doing down, maybe you can consider, trying to do cross-fertilization of internship across the different schools, right? Because I think in the industry, it's really multidisciplinary, right? So if you let the engineering students mix around with each other, then, you're actually not widening the social circle. So literally, as you maybe discuss with certain industries, companies on internship, right, you can actually package your students together as a bundle. For example, 2 guys from IT school, 1 from design, 2 from engineering, 1 from business, and really come together to sort of co-create and, help the organization solve a real world problem, right? And then that you're actually expanding, the students' mindset around interacting with people from elsewhere, and along the way they will start to learn about the different traits of individuals, right? Because I'm very sure a tech background individual will behave very differently from a business tech background, and so on and so forth, and that's really to start them young.
Thank you. Wow, bundle students for internship. What an idea. I'm sorry, we've really run out of time. I know we still have a lot of other questions, but I don't want to hold you guys more back longer than what you've agreed to do. I think that all our audience, our participants, all 166 of them will agree that it's been a very exciting morning. And I hope everybody has really enjoyed their time here, including my guests that you've been listening to each other and adding on and articulating things. Maybe you normally vent it during lunchtime at Shenton Way, but now you can vent here and got 166 people listen to you. So thank you very, very, very much. Shirley, do you want to take back for admin?
Yeah, just flash the QR code in the chat screen, and I've also placed the link in the chat box as well. So please leave us your feedback before you go off. Thank you all for coming, and thank all our presenters as well. I think everyone have had a very enlightening session, and we actually look forward to working with some of you, the presenter, to see how we can improve our curriculum. This is something that I've started talking to Benny, from Accenture a while back, and it includes one of the things that how can we bring in students from different disciplines. So if we can continue this conversation, I think it'll be great. And if any of you out there are interested in this particular partnership, do hook up with us at LA, whether this is Swan Ling, myself, or any one of us at LA. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. And if my presenters want to say any last words, any project you want to plug, anything, feel free to go ahead now.
Yeah, and if you have any comments or question, I think you can just unmute your mic and ask, since we're at the end of
this is the after party.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the after meeting thing. Yeah. So thank you to everybody. So yes, thank you, Benny, Terence, Ellen, and thank you, Celeste, for coming on. I hope that.
Hey, thanks. I saw Philo. I saw quite a few people.
Yes, for all your suggestions as well. And
is Celeste going to bill us her hourly rate?
We can't afford.
We can't afford it, right?
Baker McKenzie.
Priceless.
Yeah, Terence, I have a solution. I have a solution for you for your non-pattern inventions.
Stop recording first.
Yes, please stop recording. This is the after party chat.
So I mean, I think as a parting,
say anything
I think for law firms, right? I mean, we're just not looking for lawyers, right? As I said, we have a huge support professional services team behind us, from business development into comms into all skill sets. So people always say, oh, law firms just looking for lawyers. Actually, we're not. We're actually looking for skill sets across the various, as I said, I mean, the various functions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know a lawyer friend who is the CTO, and he handles IT systems, although he is a lawyer by training. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lawyers go
Yeah.
everywhere lah. They open restaurants. They come into teaching. Very few of them actually stay in law. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Benny,
unfortunate though.
Benny, when you were at TP, what did you study? Were you an IT
Yeah,
grad from here?
Yeah, IT. That's the most boring subject.
Oh, nowadays very important. IT. Why you say it's boring?
It's well, I mean it's mechanical, like you asked me, right? Because when back then when I'm young, it's really the mindset is really about just maybe learn a skill and get a job lah. Right, but only when I start to join the industry, I think the perception sort of changed lah. Right, it's not so much of just getting a skill, get a job. I think all the softer skills around learning how to work with people, right? Learning how to collaborate as a team, it just get manifested beyond the final year project, right? Because the scale becomes larger, and then you learn all those things along the way. Right, and you start to also, I guess, do new things like maybe for me, business development and the likes of that lah. So that's really a eye opener lah.
Yeah, but I think hats off to all of you because consultancy work is really rough and Celeste's job is also very long hours. It's not easy to last and thrive in that for so many years.
Yeah. But I do enjoy the sharing today by Benny, Terence, as well as Ellen on your respective industries, because I think law is no longer just about the legal principles, right? I mean, we always tell our team that when you help a client, you really need to fully understand what their industry is in order to bring value to the client. So I've learned a lot about the agriculture, about the tech, and about consulting, obviously. But I mean, it's important. It's important. You need to be you almost need to really be fully immersed in the industry in order to be able to solve the problem. Otherwise, you can't do it.
The top space is actually going to tech, right? Because there's a lot of AI helping the lawyers to, lawyers do a lot of research work, right? And if it's criminal law, you'll be searching on your historical case and all those things. So there's actually a lot of tech, AI-enabled tech to actually enable lawyers to do their work better, right? And that's really from different facets, right? If you are doing some sort of maybe you're trying to maybe understand the sentencing outcomes, how you should maybe position for the client and all those things, right? There's a huge, set of data beyond the law net or whatever to actually get the work done. So it's really very very interesting now, right? Because we also do have lawyers joining the consulting industry, and we also have doctors, nurses who actually sort of they're not really abandoning their industry, right? But they're actually joining the industry so that they can actually contribute and make the outcomes better, right? In terms of whether is it business flows and the likes of it.
So that's really AI can do legal research now, is it? No need to send your pupils to the law library.
It can help a little bit, but I think some things you still need to have the human mind behind it.
The cognitive part is still not there yet, but it will probably in a few years' time, right? But there will also be some industries that's a bit more threatened, right? For example, maybe the accounting industry, the auditing industry, right? I think we see more of disruption in those areas, because no longer, where you need 10 accountants to come together in the room to prepare your business report, right? I think if it's in a digital state, some of these things can sort of be applied. The human is still required to make that final judgment call. But I think what AI can do is to make recommendations, and it's really about telling you the blind spots, right? It's not so much about replacing the human element there, but it's about exposing you, telling you about what else you should be thinking of, right? Because data speaks for itself, right? So that gives you another, I guess, dimension to make better decisions.
It's just another tool, right? If you apply it to the right problem, then you get the maximum benefit. It's like when Microsoft Word was first invented, the legal profession used to use a typewriter and a secretary, and now you have a new tool called Microsoft Word, right?
No black screen, Word Perfect, no.
Word Perfect, Word Perfect. Oh my,
the Wang computer girl. The typist in my Drew and Napier used to sit in one room. We called it the Wang room. Then you go there and get them to type the documents.
Oh my God.
But it doesn't solve all the problem, right? Because I also
Tell
asked
how
my
old you
team,
are.
can you build something that help me predict Toto, right? So that one we still haven't quite figured out, right? Yeah.
Because Toto is almost a perfect random experiment, right? Which AI is not good for. AI is good for spotting patterns, patterns, repeating patterns in a multivariate environment where a human cannot actually absorb all that information and see those patterns.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where AI can help. And of course AI can do a lot of repetitive stuff like conveyancing agreements for HDB flats. Seriously, you should not have lawyers doing